guys, welcome to a new video. So in this video I'm going to be reviewing the Green Lantern Green Arrow comic by Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams that came out in the early 70s. If you like this video guys, be sure to give me a like, comment, subscribe and let me know what you think of the comic. I'd be happy to read it. And also I do a lot of different videos like reviewing comics, movies. I'm even going to touch into some games at some point. So if you like all that kind of stuff, I'd recommend subscribing if you enjoy the content. So pretty much the comic features both Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and they go on this like adventure just to deal with a lot of different issues, and they go on this like road trip throughout America, and it even takes them into space at some points, which is quite funny actually. Actually a very fun comic to read because you see them dealing with like obviously really serious stuff on Earth, like they deal with a lot of topics like racism and stuff, and then all of a sudden like 2 issues later they're up in space fighting some aliens, but it all does tie in very well, and I actually had a lot of fun reading these like certain parts of the comic. Like as a road trip comic, it is just really fun just seeing them visiting these different like areas of America, and it just kind of brings out a different side to each character depending where they are, because they interact with all these different people, like they interact with Indian tribes at some points, they interact with just loads of different people, and it just kind of shows you how each character reacts, and it causes a lot of conflict because Green Arrow will meet with some people and he'll agree with their cause, but then Green Lantern won't, and it just causes like a bit of rivalry between the two of them, even though the two of them are best friends. So it actually works out very well, and it sets up like a lot of conflict between the two characters at points as well, which they always resolve by the end of each issue. So I always found that pretty fun to read, and I noticed they actually pay a lot of attention to detail to what happens in each issue, because I feel like in comics somebody will like break their leg or something, and then the next issue later they're completely fine. But in this comic, like Green Arrow, he breaks his arm at one point, and it actually lasts from like this point on to like the rest of the comic, and for like affects it badly. So I found that was actually pretty good, and it just kind of like grounds the comic, even though it does have like a lot of wacky space adventures as well, which are really fun. But the grounded parts do really work in the comic book as well. I feel like as well the characters in this comic are very well done, especially both Green Lantern and Green Arrow. Like obviously it did come out in the early 70s, so they do say a lot of cheesy stuff, but it does work for the comic book because you do know where it is set, and it's pretty cool as well because obviously Green Arrow, it still has this like cheesy Robin Hood design, but it actually works a lot in the comic, and I like really enjoyed it. And I feel like as well like Roy Harper, he had a lot in this comic to do as well, because this is the comic where he actually gets addicted to heroin, and it's very well done because it kind of shows like a drift between Green Arrow and Roy Harper, and it characterizes Roy Harper a lot more, and it gives him a lot more depth because you can kind of see how being a teenage sidekick would affect someone, and it actually shows you a lot of that in this comic. And you see basically Green Arrow and Roy Harper at odds with each other, and then Roy Harper basically becomes his own person. He's like, I don't need you, I dealt with this all myself. And Black Canary as well, she's in the comic a lot, and she's just a lot of fun because her and Oliver Queen are just like flirting with each other, and it's just like a lot of funny dialogue which I liked. This comic as well actually has, I think it's the first appearance of John Stewart, and you see how he becomes a Green Lantern. So I actually really enjoyed seeing that as well, because both him and Hal Jordan have complete different reviews when it comes to separate things. So that was like a really interesting comic because it had a lot of interesting dialogue between the two characters, which I really enjoyed to read as well. So it's got that as well, and it's just like a lot of iconic moments in this comic because it is one of the most iconic comics ever made, and it kind of changed the comic game in my opinion. Also, the artwork in this comic is awesome. Like there is so much attention to detail, and you can really see the differences between Earth and space. Like obviously, like space is going to look different, but whenever they're in space, there's always just like a lot of this like trippy artwork and like all these like cool designs for all these aliens. And I thought it just looked awesome, and it was just really easy to distinguish. Like because I feel like sometimes in comics as well, like when they go to different planets, space can look very similar, and different planets look really similar to each other. But each time they went to a different planet in this, it was all very distinct, and I like really enjoyed seeing it, and it popped off the page. Like, I read it on my tablet because I couldn't get the physical copy, but it really popped out my tablet as well, and the HD of the tablet really brought it out as well. And also the character design, like I said, like Green Arrow, it does look like a cheesy Robin Hood in it, but it is really works well for the comic and the amount of detail they give to him. Like there's points where you can see like when they have to draw emotions on their face, like you can really see the emotions in their face, even though it is just a drawing, but it's amazing artwork, and everything just pops off the pages very well. And especially when Green Lantern is using his power ring, like it just looks really cool, and have like a lot of cool designs. Like there's one where he makes like a bigger version of himself just to catch someone falling off a cliff. So I really enjoyed that, and it does have a lot of that cheesy comic artwork, but it also has this kind of like serious tone to it as well, depending what's happening in the issue. And the artwork really reflects what's happening in the story, and I found that really well done. Also, as well, this is probably one of the most iconic comic books ever made, because it's the first comic where like Roy Harper is infamous for this scene where he takes a heroin, and it just deals with like a lot of issues that took place in the 70s and even now, and it puts in this like not fantasy but this like comic book out there world that I thought they'd done very well, and it's just really different. It's like a very different comic compared to a lot of comics you read today, and it's just such a fun read. So my overall thoughts, I really enjoyed this comic a lot, and it's definitely in my top 10 comics I've ever read, which is actually a video I'm going to make at one point. But it's my first time reading it just there, and I really enjoyed it. In Green Arrow, he is usually like a side character, what he was back then, but he's utilised very well in this comic, and him and Green Lantern bounce off each other very well. The artwork's amazing, and it's just got a really fun story, and it's like a fun road trip to it. It deals with a lot of issues. And if I was to give it a rating, I would definitely give it an A+. I love it a lot, and I would easily go back and read it again. There's a lot of cheesy moments, but overall, great comic, and I would highly recommend it to everyone. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on the comic, or if you haven't read it yet, do you want to read it, and is this video made you interested in it? And also, if you like this kind of content, I do movie reviews, I do comic book reviews, I do top 10 lists, top 5 lists. I'm going to dabble in some gaming and some TV shows as well. So I just kind of cover anything pop culture and entertainment wise. So if you're into that kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button and click the wee bell icon so you know whenever I upload a new video. Thanks a lot for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next video.